Welcome to the Extraordinary Executives Podcast, where business owners like you share their experiences, insight, and lessons learned. So grab your cup of coffee or tea and get ready for an engaging conversation. Here's your host, Randy Jones.
Welcome to another episode of the Extraordinary Executives. Today, we have an outstanding guest. Once again, we have the CEO and founder of Goldman Law Group, Mr. William Scott Goldman. He has a heart full of gold and a passion for the people that he helps. Hey, welcome, William.
Thank you, Randy. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, well, look, here's what we're going to do. We're going to really jump in immediately because our listeners, they want to hear about your story. They want to hear about your experiment. So tell me about the Goldman Law Group, or better yet, why did you start the organization?
Good question. I decided that the law practice in general, the legal profession needed to be shaken up a bit, needed to have some disruption. It's a very tradition-based field. Our clients are entrepreneurs, they're startups and business owners, and for the most part, they're not really interested in a lot of the unnecessary steps, the hoops and hurdles that one must overcome just to seek competent legal representation. And so we cut out a lot of that, a lot of the fat, so to speak, basically simplifying the process and in effect disrupting the industry. As a result, basically offering 24/7, 365 attorney access, usually via email or even phone or text, providing expert counsel, primarily in the areas of intellectual property, business law, and branding law, which is a topic that we pretty much established, something near and dear to my own heart. It's a field that I pioneered about 15, 20 years ago, as a matter of fact.
Wow. So I guess, what's your role in the company? Is it more of you run the company, or you're on the front lines, or tell me, what do you specifically do?
A little bit of everything, really. I'm the managing attorney and founder. In other words, I run the show here. I supervise the other lawyers. I handle my own cases and matters that come across my own desk. I'm talking with most of the clients, if not all the clients, giving them various advice and legal counsel, strategic guidance, and then just handling the behind the scenes marketing and business development aspects as well.
Wow. You do everything. I mean, you practice what you preach. So no one can come to you from your firm and say, hey, you've never done this, or you're so far removed from it. And so I guess, what do you think has been the biggest contribution to your success?
I would say, first of all, coming up with the concept, differentiating ourselves from what the other law firms are doing, and realizing that there was this specific need, and forming our own niche in the marketplace as far as providing these cutting edge services, creative approaches to legal services for our creative business clients. We like to say representing innovation. That's our mantra and our mission statement. And basically it's twofold. Our firm represents a very innovative approach to providing legal services, and the clients that we represent are innovators, essentially. So wow. Representing innovation pretty much says it all.
Wow. In the world of people having new ideas, new apps, TikTok, things like that, tell me, you hear about lawyers, and I think people think about branding more, SEO or so on. What is a branding lawyer? Right? Give those who don't know, like me, maybe a layman's term or a better understanding of it.
Sure. Well, like I said, branding law is a field that I pioneered about 20 years ago. About 5 years ago, I released the first edition of Branding Law Cases and Materials, and it's an interdisciplinary field. So it covers not only trademarks, but copyrights, patents, entertainment law, computer law, even rights of publicity, antitrust, trade libel, false advertising. It's really an umbrella that covers all these areas that are specific to whether it's individuals dealing with personal branding or companies that are dealing with more traditional intellectual property, not only trademark, but like I said, copyrights and patents. It really touches on all these aspects. And I like to think branding lawyers are well versed in all these fields in order to provide strategic counsel for brand managers and marketers, which avoids the disconnect that sometimes exists. A lot of times, the marketing department and the brand managers, the legal department, they're not really seeing eye to eye. And so, branding law encompasses all the above and bridges the gap.
So it's not the same as trademark law then, I guess, right?
Excuse me, say it again.
It's not the same as trademark law. It's
No. I'm glad you mentioned that. A lot of people, it's really an oversimplification, but a lot of people confuse the two. And really, trademark law is a big part of branding law, yes, but it's really just a subset. So you have trademarks that apply to branding, but also you have copyright, you have patent. You even have these other areas, like I said, computer law, antitrust, internet law, advertising law, etc. And so all of this blends to form this all-encompassing topic or legal practice, which is what I call branding law.
Wow. So because what you provide is so encompassing, they say teamwork makes the dream work. You know, for the people who've been listening, and there might be people who say, well, shucks, I didn't even think about that avenue or that direction or concentration in law. Who are like essential people on your team or partners that you work with that help you? Because saying a business owner comes to, you know, a branding lawyer and says, I'd like to get one-stop shop. Of course you can't do it, or you got tons of, you know, attorneys in your firm, but who do you guys partner with to help a person have their idea or dream come to fruition?
Well, I handle the bulk of the trademark matters. I'm currently ranked number 5 in the world with over 17,000 successful USPTO filings. So I've been doing this for over 30 years. So that's really my forte, as well as copyright. I've been doing copyright for just as long. When it comes to patent matters, that's outside of my own expertise. I have some excellent patent attorneys and agents that I will bring in for these types of matters. I have some specific business and tax lawyers that we also work with. So once the client comes in, I will give them a general overview on branding law. I'll provide that strategic advice that they need. I'll come up with an action plan. And then for copyright and trademark, which is really the bulk of it, I'll handle those directly. But once it gets more specific, like I say, with the patents, with the business law, tax planning, then we bring in other folks to handle those aspects.
Now, the world of law is wide and deep, and, you know, with the economy and things changing, how have you guys, I mean, like you said, 30 years, how have you been able to weather the storm? Or what do you think is unique about your business or your approach to running your company that has allowed you guys to weather the storm and continue to differentiate yourself from others who say they might do the same thing? Google's out there. Everybody thinks Google can be their lawyer now, you know?
Very true. Very true. Well, fortunately, most of our clients realize that it may be a good source or a good resource for getting some answers. But like anything, if you want to have a thorough opinion, you need an expert in the field. I've had situations where, I might wake up with my neck hurting or something, and then I'll look online and then I'll see all these different symptoms, and then you wind up getting yourself more concerned than you really need to be just doing your own research.
Right.
Obviously, doctors are doctors for a reason, and CPAs are CPAs for a reason, and lawyers are lawyers for a reason. We are trained in our respective fields, and one needs to consult with the experts to really sort things out. The internet will give you an overview, but it may lead you in the wrong direction as well. And so oftentimes it's best, or I should say usually it's best, maybe to do a brief review, a brief overview through the search engines. But after that, calling the experts is really the way to go to get that peace of mind and that confidence, knowing that you're being led in the right direction.
Yeah, so 30 years in the business, and close to 30 years that I've been working with business owners on a various number of things. What are some of the challenges that you run into? Because I mean, it's not always sunshines and lollipops, but what are some of the challenges, and how have you overcome those when other business owners are saying, hey, I'm running into some challenges too?
Yeah, it's been an interesting path, that's for sure. When I had started out, this is back in the early 90s, and it's prior to everything going online with the trademark office. And so it was very different. Nowadays, having that location isn't quite as important. For years we've been located just minutes from the USPTO, and now anybody with a computer connection, lawyers and some very good ones all over the United States, are practicing intellectual property. So back then, 30 years ago, you had a certain advantage being right there where the action is, so to speak. And so I guess the flip side of it, though, is that we've been able to leverage the internet, the search engines, to where we now have clients in all 50 states and worldwide, pretty much on every continent, which is pretty exciting. And that also served us well during the pandemic over the past couple of years, in that it gave us the flexibility where certain geographic areas were getting especially hard hit. We pivot from one place to another to be able to offer our services in certain areas geographically that weren't necessarily getting hit by a wave of COVID at the time. And so that kept our workflow very consistent. So that was quite the challenge. But again, due to the worldwide nature of our practice, again, 24/7, 365, we're able to weather that storm and come out ahead. So I think having that flexibility built into our business model really helped out a great deal.
Right. Now you've grown a successful practice and you do great business. Number 5 worldwide. But if you had to look back, the lessons we learned, they say a bought lesson is the best lesson. If you had to look back 10 years ago and you're standing in the mirror looking at your 10-year younger self, what would you say? What would you say about what you're about to go through, and what advice would you give to the younger you?
Question. I would say to create a business model that's disruptive, that differentiates from anything else that's out there, to really pursue your dreams. So on one hand, it's all fine and good to launch a business, to make money, but at the same time, if you don't have the passion for it, at the end of the day, 10 years later, it really is meaningless. In my case, coming up with this concept of branding law was key. It's something that I was fascinated with pretty much throughout my entire legal career, always seeing the connections between these various practice areas, and then eventually being able to see how everything fit together, and then coming up with this entire legal doctrine based around the concept of branding law, and being able to pioneer the field is quite gratifying. Just being the expert worldwide in a specific area, I would recommend everybody, if they have the opportunity to do just that, to define something you're passionate about, something that doesn't exist, and to formulate it and carve out that niche to establish yourself as an expert in a particular field.
Wow. So you remind me of the book Blue Ocean. So it looks like you sort of carved out your segment in the industry that makes you guys different. And so I guess to that point, who is your ideal client? Where is your sweet spot in what you do?
I would say the ideal clients that we have would be creative businesses, entrepreneurs, startups, creative individuals, anybody who's tech savvy, anybody who's aware of social media and influencers and branding. This is all around us. This is key, especially here in the 21st century. Right. And so those are the clients we seek out, particularly advertising agencies, right, graphic design studios, right, anybody who's on the forefront of creating branding for their own clients. I think right, coordinating with our firm and our unique approach to branding law, I think not only serves those clients well, but it's a value added that these various businesses can offer as well.
You made a good point. There are a lot of people who are trying to start, or become influencers, or, social media is running rampant. In your experience, what are some of what is the biggest mistake that you see that people make when it comes to trying to do this themselves, or, when they're entrepreneurs and they're thinking about branding? What are some of the biggest branding mistakes you think of?
Great question. Well, besides inconsistent messaging, which is the second biggest branding mistake, the other is when companies fail to select an adequately strong brand name. While suggestive or descriptive names typically require less marketing effort, they're much more difficult to enforce. And so that's why our firm always emphasizes taking these key legal considerations into account during the name creation process. In other words, fanciful or even arbitrary names will better serve a business long term, because at the end of the day, why invest resources in something as essential as brand development when competitors are potentially able to use something highly similar as well? And so you need to select something that's unique, something memorable, and then to make sure that it's cleared prior to moving forward, because the last thing one needs to do is to begin a massive rebranding effort when it's all totally avoidable up front if being done correctly.
Wow. I often say, I'd rather you steal my money than steal my time. And I think when people make those mistakes, they sort of have to go back to the drawing board unnecessarily. So I guess, what's next for you? I mean, is it going to be continued growth, maybe some type of exit strategy, or is it, what do you see the future looking like for, the Goldman Law Group?
Good question. Well, we're looking for further expansion. During the past 2-3 years, like I said, we've been reaching out to other lawyers worldwide, establishing these strategic partnerships to be able to assist them with their business and branding IP law needs in the United States. And so we'll continue doing more of that. We've had a lot of success there. And then that, of course, leads to a lot of referral business, a lot of repeat business from our various clients. There's nothing more gratifying than a satisfied client coming back to you for more work or referring you to others. That happens a great deal. I'm in the process, too, of putting together Branding Law Cases and Materials Volume Number 2, which is very exciting. And we'll be launching some various mobile apps as well, if not this year, then next. So we have a lot on the drawing board. And I think getting back to one of your earlier questions, Randy, what keeps a person going this many years is just having all different projects on the drawing board, having new ideas, not going stagnant, being able to take a business in new and exciting directions over a period.
So sounds like you got a lot on your plate and a lot of great initiative. Hey, someday, William, you won't be running this company in the fashion that you're doing currently. So I guess the question would be, what do you want your legacy to be? Or better yet, what would you like people to say about you specifically, and then also Goldman Law Group?
Really good question. I would like them to remember my firm, remember me as the best counsel, the best strategic advisor that they've ever encountered, somebody who's helped them achieve tremendous business growth, somebody who's a trusted friend, somebody that they can call or email at 11, 12, 2 a.m. to assist with their intellectual property or branding law matters, and also to be considered the pioneer of an exciting unique new field of law, and hopefully others will carry that mantle, basically providing their own branding law approach, maybe even doing their own unique take on branding law, but most importantly, advising their client according to the doctrine that I established, like I say, about 15, 20 years ago. So I think that would be the most gratifying, to be considered a pioneer in a brand new field, namely branding law.
Wow, that's awesome. Hey, for all the people that have been listening, sometimes, you shared a lot of information about branding law that I wasn't even aware about. And I asked a lot of questions and you gave great insight to it. Is there any one last piece of advice that you'd like to give to people that I didn't even ask?
Good question. I would say, like I mentioned before, one common misconception among even legal practitioners, even jurists, is that trademarks and brands are synonymous, albeit it's an oversimplification perhaps, but not all trademarks are brands, and most brands are trademarks. Brands are essential to the consumer experience, and protectable names, slogans, logos are just component parts or subsets of the whole amplified through marketing, which then creates an evolution from brands to branding. In short, there's considerably more to branding than just trademarks, necessitating the development of this brand new field, which goes much deeper and covers a wide range of legal subjects. So I think that should be the primary takeaway. Basically, there's a lot more to branding than just trademarks, or should I say branding law than just trademarks. And if anybody has any further questions or would like further insight, I'm always available. I can talk on and on about this topic, being that it's near to dear to my
the passion. How can people reach out to you? I mean, because
yeah,
it sounds like based on what you described, we need a professional like you.
Our website is www.goldmanlawgroup.com. And there's a website, a form, a contact form they could fill out right there on the site. Also, my direct email is WSG, as in William Scott Goldman, at goldmanlawgroup.com. So I think either of those would be a good way to get in touch, most definitely. And like I say, I'm always available, particularly over email, 24/7, 365. So please do reach out should anybody have any questions.
Outstanding. Well, thanks so much. Once again, we've been talking with William Scott Goldman of the Goldman Law Group. He definitely has a passion, as you can tell, for his business. He's got a passion for his people, and he definitely makes a profit as an extraordinary executive. I really thank you for being on here, William. Thank you so much.
Oh, thanks for having me. Have a great weekend.
Hey, bye. You too. Hey, and tune in next time, guys. We'll have another extraordinary executive that's going to tell you their story and how it might benefit you and your business. Talk to you soon. This podcast is for informational purposes only. Guest speakers and their firms are not affiliated with or endorsed by Pass, Guardian, or Financial Growth Partners, and opinions stated are their own. Randy is a registered representative and financial advisor of Park Avenue Securities, LLC, Pass, OSJ 11350, McCormick Road, Suite 202, Hunt Valley, Maryland 21031, 410-828-540. Securities products and advisory services offered by Pass, member, FINRA, SIPC, financial representatives of the Guardian Life Insurance Company of America, Guardian, New York, New York. Pass is a wholly owned subsidiary of Guardian. Financial Growth Partners is the DBA name of IAPA LLC, a wholly owned subsidiary, Guardian 2022-142821, expiration 824.